How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another edition of Foolish Fantasy. I'm your host, Kramer Sansone, and welcome. It is week 10, entering week 10 of the National Football League as we see the divisional matchup between in the AFC West of the Raiders and Broncos tonight for Thursday Night Football. But my goodness, we are entering week 10. That is insane. This season is basically 3/4 of the way gone. And this season is going to be wrapping up relatively soon, especially for your fantasy football purposes. And I'm here to help you all out along the lines of when things are going to be needed to go crunch time wise, some savvy waiver wire pickups. This is that time of the year where it means the most, it makes the most sense to get that to pick up that guy, make that trade, better your team for this upcoming playoff push because we have 4 more weeks left until playoffs. In some leagues, there's 5 weeks left until playoffs, which is absolutely insane and asinine. But you know what? We're crazy. We love fantasy football. So no matter what we'll do, we'll play the sport that we all love and be talking, to our friends about it every single minute, every single second along the way. This is just what we do. That's why we love this stuff. That's also why you're tuning into this. By the way, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so, please like this video. Make sure you do subscribe. Also, feel free to put a comment down in the comment section and either on Spotify over on YouTube. And I'm curious to see how your team is going, your season's going for multiple teams that you do have. Heck, just this past week alone, I'm in 6 different fantasy leagues, and I went 5 out of 6 of winning. I'll pat myself on the back. I needed a huge night from Bam Knight, Jacoby Brissett, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Didn't get that. We did get a lot of points related, but Bam Knight did not get in the end zone. What's up with that? Bam Knight not getting in the end zone, absolutely crazy on Monday Night Football. But you know what? That is what it is. So I am curious to hear what your guys' record is at this point in time as we are entering week 10 of the NFL. So let's do what we always do. Let's get into our foolish funsies. Start things off. It's not as fun for this guy named Kyler Murray as he's placed in the IR yesterday. And Jacoby Brissett will start versus the Seahawks. And I think we're also going to see Jacoby Brissett start through the remainder of the season. No matter what time that he's starting, he's done exceptionally well. Over 200 passing yards in each of the last 3 games he did start in. 2 touchdowns as well. Been very efficient on throwing the football. Also, not really giving up the interceptions. He's not doing that. He's being very, very, very cautious. And Jacoby Brissett has unlocked, I would say, this offense to what it's supposed to be, to what we're supposed to see it from. Kyler Murray was not giving it to us. He was not doing it justice for fantasy owners of Marvin Harrison Jr. If you want to float out the name Zay Flowers, which is the name, but even McBride, he was still getting his target share, but he wasn't getting the production that we were supposed to see from McBride in seasons past. So Jacoby Brissett has been that guy to unlock all the talent, unlock all the potential from all the weapons that the Arizona Cardinals have. And you know what? If that's him for the remainder of the season, so be it. As long as they try to win games, that's all that matters the most to them. I know they play the Seahawks this upcoming week, and it's going to be not so much of a great defense that they're going to go up against, but it's going to be a defense that you got to be somewhat cautious with, but it's also the Seahawks. You can go back and forth, trade blows the entire game if you're playing the Seattle Seahawks, and that's why I do kind of like Jacoby Brissett, even as picking him up and putting him on your bench, and he's going to be a great start plug-and-play guy. Even this past week, I did a start plug-and-play with Sam Darnold, and it worked in my favor. It was I'm not starting Dak Prescott, didn't want to start Dak Prescott, wanted to pick up Sam Darnold, had a good match between him. And I think Jacoby Brissett has a very good matchup against the Seattle Seahawks this week in order to get some points across the board, plus also another week of being around the wide receivers and also the running backs and as running back ones for the full slate of things, hopefully for the full slate of their rest of the season if you're Jacoby Brissett. But no, I would go put a flyer out there on Jacoby Brissett and possibly have him on my team. Let's go on to the next foolish funzy. Not so much fun for CJ Stroud as he still is in concussion protocol, which means if he still stays in that, by the end of the week, we will see Davis Mills suit up, get under the center, and make sure that he can try to win a game for the Texans. Because the Texans, they play Jacksonville this upcoming week, which they just got some additions on their wide receiver room. We know that Travis Hunter's already hurt, but they did get Jacoby Myers. We'll discuss that in a second. But Davis Mills will be starting for Houston Texans. He came on in because of a play in the Broncos game this past week. It's not like he didn't come in and do well. He didn't particularly do good, but it's not like he kind of knew that he was going to come in there or not. I know the final score was 18-15, but Davis Mills didn't have a good game at the helm of throwing it once he came on in. He went 17 for 30 at 137 yards. He was sacked twice. Did I give up a touchdown? He didn't score a touchdown or give up an interception, so there's at least something there, but 4.6 yards per play or per throw for him. Not a good look. I would not go out and get Davis Mills by any means at all. But just be careful with who you start when it comes to starting a Nico Collins, starting a Dalton Schultz, starting a Xavier Hutchinson, starting a Christian Kirk. I mean, you're still going to get a lot of catches from Nico Collins. You will get that, but I'm curious to see how the deep shots will go for him. And Dalton Schultz, I mean, he's a guy that's going to get you 5+ receptions each and every single week anyways. And I would think that Davis Mills is going to rely upon his bigger receivers and also bigger targets with softer hands, like a Dalton Schultz or Nico Collins. But we could also see the ground game go and explode. Woody Marks didn't really have a great game last week, and Nick Chubb, same as well. It's just, I'm curious to see what type of a team the Texans will play up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just gave up 29 points to the Las Vegas Raiders. So there will be points to be had on this. Who knows? It could be go back and forth, or it could be lopsided, which I'm leaning towards the lopsidedness, especially if CJ Stroud does not play. So that's Davis Mills might start. CJ Stroud doesn't clear concussion protocol. There's some couple of trades that happened at the deadline the other day, and two of them could easily impact fantasy implications. As Rashid Shaheed being sent from the New Orleans Saints over to the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm just more curious as how will this impact his fantasy outlook. I think this is beneficial. I think the Cooper Kupp experiment is officially over, and I do believe Cooper Kupp is more hurt than what we are led to believe. So this move had to be done. I think also the Seahawks were in the win now mode. This team could win their division. This team could make and flirt with the NFC Championship game. It's not like the NFC is a very stout or very tough conference. I mean, there's teams out there clearly like the Philadelphia Eagles, but there's another team that's out there that could, they could take that next step. And this was the Seattle Seahawks just by acquiring Rashid Shaheed. He's going to fill in nicely in that slot role. Maybe we're going to see a lot of Torrey Horton. We're not seeing that anymore. I think Shaheed comes in and takes over all of those catches. He's going to be the second option for Sam Darnold. We already know JSN's going to keep getting his 70% share on the throwing percentage to him. But Shaheed's going to get you that deep shot option. If it's not JSN on the deep shot, he can get you in that slot role, a quick little a pass to get you there. And Sam Darnold desperately needs that. We didn't see it at all from a Cooper Kupp this season. And I mean, this kind of helps and alludes to why they wanted to go get him. It was also last year, the offensive coordinator was the offensive coordinator in the Saints. And now he's there in Seattle. This is like a match made in heaven. They're going to have some plays dialed up for him. Heck, he even might make a big splash against the Arizona Cardinals this week. I'm expecting for it. I'm starting him in one of my leagues because I expect him to do well in this type of offense because Sam Darnold is Sam freaking Darnold. Sam Darnold's good. And he's the guy that they expected him they wanted him to become once he got drafted in New York. He had to go around the entirety of the league a little bit, but he found himself the last couple of years, and he has taken the ball with it, and he has shined throughout the way. He's not seeing ghosts anymore, folks. He is seeing his wide receivers clear as day, and he's making those throws, and he's executing on those throws, and he's winning football games. That's what Sam Darnold's doing. Absolutely love this trade for Shaheed. Even though he was getting a great production outlook, even if it was Shuck going to be the guy that's going to be throwing him the football, he was still getting those targets in New Orleans. I see that carrying over, but we're going to see a lot more fantasy points with it. I mean, you got to think he's also the 26th ranked productive wide receiver right now on ESPN leagues. I always reference ESPN leagues. I think ESPN has the best fantasy app. It's just easy to follow and easy to read. And I've been following this all season. He's a 26th ranked wide receiver, and he's worth starting as like a flex or a wide receiver too this week. You need to start him. I think he's going to get a touchdown. I have a feeling. I actually going to put some money on that before I am going to leave the state of Kansas on Friday. So yeah, that was one of the trades that have happened. And also the other trade that happened that could also impact fantasy football outlook for this wide receiver is Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers got out of Las Vegas. His wish was granted. He was able to leave on a 4th and a 6th round pick, and he's in Jacksonville. Great thing for Jacksonville Jaguars fans is who did you just lose? You just probably lost your wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, however you looked at it, in Travis Hunter. They went out there and they got them another wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2. However, he's a very capable wide receiver 1. We saw him that way last year in Las Vegas. But with the game against Las Vegas in the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week was Brock Bowers is the go-to option no matter what for Geno Smith. The offense relies upon the productivity of Brock Bowers. It was never going to rely upon Jacoby Myers. Heck, he was wide open on the 2-point conversion. Wasn't looked at all. Looked at when Tyler Lockett was looked. They should have just threw the easy pass wide open between your center and your right guard. Jacoby Myers was literally right there if you looked up Geno Smith. But no, Myers is going to take all the production Travis Hunter was about ready to receive. I think we boosted and glorified Travis Hunter last week or a couple weeks ago before his injury happened to him. And because there was going to be another gigantic step forward because of what we saw before the bye in London, that he was just an absolute force of absolute unit when he was over there playing against the Los Angeles Rams. We couldn't see him after that. So that's the only thing we're going to see left of Travis Hunter until he does make a full return. But even if he does make a full return if he does return this season, that's a damn good wide receiver room, especially if Brian Thomas Jr. hasn't been great. He's also been popped up on the injury report. He is questionable with he's just questionable to play this week. He's probably going to play, but I guess we'll have to see when he gets there. But Jacoby Myers to the Jacksonville Jaguars, huge. I would consider, if you don't have him on your team, if he's on waiver wires, pick him up easily or go out there and make a trade for Jacoby Myers because he's going to turn some heads and do some great things for Trevor Lawrence. And the guy literally catches everything that's thrown his way. Just throw him the football. He's a contested catch fiend when it comes to that. So Jacoby Myers is a Jacksonville Jaguar. And now when we just talk about the Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver core just a little bit, is there a wide receiver to add on this team right now? Especially there's a gaping hole. If Trey Tucker is still available, maybe you add him onto your team. If there's Jack Besh isn't going to get much run. I know they're going with a veteran-heavy look. If you're the Raiders, Tyler Lockett could be an option. Hell, if Geno Smith's looking at him and for the 2-point conversion to win a game, you already know he's going to start looking at him anyways. I know they have a connection from their days back in Seattle. I don't know if that's going to carry over to now with the Las Vegas Raiders, but the best wide receiver option to have on this team is Brock Bowers. And we saw that clear as day just this past week against the Jaguars. Brock Bowers absolutely ate. He ate up the Jaguars when they played, and he put on the biggest performance a tight end we've seen since Darren Waller back in 2018. Like, are you kidding me? Like, no, it's the truth. Like, Brock Bowers is the entire focal point of that entire offense. So if it's not Trey Tucker, then I don't know who it is. I thought it was going to be Dante Thornton at the beginning of the season, but then again, Amari Cooper was going to be a Raider, and he retired right before the season. So he's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not going to be a part of this sinking ship that we've seen. Maybe Amari Cooper saw gazed into his crystal ball or his magic football, shook it up a little bit and said, leave. And that's basically what happened, or retire. But that's what happened to Jacoby Myers. He's gone. But no, there's not a wide receiver I'd want to add on my fantasy team right now if it's the Raiders, unless it's Trey Tucker. And that's reaching. So I still don't believe in the value that he's going to bring to the table. Are we starting RJ Harvey this week? I think we should. I think we easily should. This guy has scored 5 touchdowns in 3 weeks. 5 touchdowns in 3 weeks. Are you kidding me? And he's going against the Las Vegas Raiders this week. If the Las Vegas Raiders offense performed like it did in the fourth quarter or the second half of last week's game, I would feel very confident in RJ Harvey having at least 5 receptions. That's 5 points right there. He's going to get a 10 carries at least behind there. They're going to probably do some split backfield stuff with J.K. Dobbins and him from here for the remainder of the season, just to keep J.K. Dobbins fresh. He's been beat up a lot. And I do like the fact that it's pass catching option. And he's scored 5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. He's incredible. Like, he truly is. He's the gadget player that Sean Payton has wanted his entire time in his short tenure with the Denver Broncos. And RJ Harvey, I believe, is a must start to have, especially this week against the Raiders. I firmly feel confident when I say this, but then when I say it now and I speak it into this microphone, he may do bad. He may do bad. No, I don't feel like he's going to do bad. I have all the confidence in the world for RJ Harvey to do wonderful things tonight on Thursday Night Football. Because RJ Harvey's just been fun. He's like a little spark plug. He's the guy that you don't expect at all getting the football at times, because we all expect either Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, which has been a stud this year. Like, we expect that's where Bo Nix is going to heave it downfield. No, Bo Nix has just been check down king every once in a while, getting reading the right reads under center. And just hand the ball off to the boy. RJ Harvey, it can also be your every down back if you had him, but you don't really need to have him as every down back because you have J.K. Dobbins. You have a two-headed monster in Denver, and they are excelling at a high level, and I expect them to excel tonight against the Las Vegas Raiders. So there are players in, the NFL that we enjoy and that we are must have and must starts each and every single week. But some of these guys that I'm about to list off have to be starter worthy. But here's the thing with these guys. I would be cautious with these players that if you are starting them this week, because these are some matchup. What's the best word? The matchup just doesn't look good for these guys. I'm just trying to think of a fun, catchy name for this thing. We'll start the first one off, and you'll understand what I'm saying. You need to be cautious with these players. The first one I'm going to talk on the list is Breece Hall. The last game we saw Breece Hall play in, he had a throwing touchdown against the Bengals, and the Jets won. Well, since then, some roster reconstruction has happened. Since then, he's won it out. He didn't get out. And now he's going to get swallowed up this week by no other than the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have allowed the third fewest average rushing yard of 3.7 yards per carry. That does not bode well with Breece Hall and your Breece Hall owners. I am one of the Breece Hall owners in one of the leagues that I have. They're going against a stout defense, and especially the Cleveland Browns, who just seems to always have the dominant defense. That defensive line is very vaunted. And the Jets are now a depleted, we are not winning anything type of motivation. Breece Hall, I'm not trying to say Breece Hall's going to sandbag because he's got to play for that contract. He's playing for a new contract at the end of the season. I'm assuming it's not with the Jets. I wouldn't want it to be with the Jets because all your friends are gone. Like literally, you Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams, to name the biggest two stars on that team, traded. Crazy. And Breece Hall was like, get me out of here. He was like Eric Andre on the fence. Like, get me out of here. Or I don't know what Eric Andre even says on that thing, or let me out, or however. I feel for Breece, man. I feel he's having a tough matchup against the Cleveland Browns this week. Absolutely tough. So be cautious. Be cautious with Breece Hall. Michael Pittman Jr. versus the Atlanta Falcons. Be cautious. Because this is a tough defense. It's an average, middle-of-the-pack defense when it comes to passing yards and passing receptions for wide receivers. But we're starting to see three wide receivers emerge out of the Indianapolis Colts. We already know Michael Pittman Jr. is the one. Probably Josh Downs is the two, and Alec Pierce is the number three. We also got to thank Tyler Warren's there too, which Tyler Warren gets number two targets behind Michael Pittman Jr. And then if that is going proper, everything goes great on the first drive, take off the Jonathan Taylor the entire time. They're going up against a run defense that is somewhat lackluster as well. It does have some very good it could stop you every once in a while. They will have to punt a handful of times. But the Colts do great indoors. Where are they at? They're going to be indoors this week no matter what. Whether they were in Atlanta or what they were in Indianapolis. They're indoors, and they play exceptionally well indoors, especially Daniel Jones. Plays great when he's on turf. So I would say Daniel Jones is going to be slinging this one a little bit, but then we don't see the much Daniel Jones-esque type of moment. I mean, he had all those yards last week, basically garbage time. They were bringing the Colts back into it, and they just couldn't get the job done against the Saints. Not Saints, excuse me, against the Steelers. It was another S team that I was thinking of. So I think you need to be cautious with Michael Pittman Jr. He's not going to put up the numbers he did last week or the week prior before that. This is actually a very decent Atlanta Falcons defense. One of the better defenses to start in fantasy football is the Atlanta Falcons each and every single week. So no, I would be very cautious to start Michael Pittman Jr. this week, is to add on the list. Another one. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to be circling on the list each and every single week to be like, you need to be cautious. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It's just how they're going to use him. That's Bill Krosky-Merritt. They go against the Lions this week. That's the third-ranked defense when it comes to fantasy of non-production. The thing that sucks with Bill Krosky-Merritt is he's not the pass catcher whatsoever, and that just depletes his value. I know you see the projection of, he might be an 11. He might get a 12. He might get a 13. He might get a high 10, maybe 10.5 on a fantasy thing. I'm here to tell you he's not touching that against the Detroit Lions. He might get to a 5. He might get you to a 6. He might get you to a 7. But he's not going to give you that highest potential, the highest that the average that the ESPN numbers says he might get. That's not going to happen, folks. Even if you're on Sleeper, whatever it says projected there, that will not happen. He will always be below that line because he's being handcuffed. And also, the Commanders will be playing from behind for so much now that we've already seen engaged in the future that McNichols is going to be the passing down back. Heck, at some point, he might even be the hand down back for them as well. But they're going to be playing from behind. The Commanders will be playing from behind no matter what, and especially with the quarterback helm of Marcus Mariota. But there's some upside to Marcus Mariota that I'll get into in the waiver wire watcher. But Bill Krosky-Merritt is on the list of guys that I would be very cautious starting because I know there's going to be some people who will start Bill Krosky-Merritt. Another one on the list, Khalil Shakir versus the Dolphins. I know it's against the Dolphins, but for some reason, the Dolphins always plays the Buffalo Bills very close, very tight every single time they play. And there's probably a handful of games in there that, the Bills clearly destroyed the Dolphins or vice versa. But here's the thing. The Dolphins have allowed the fewest yards to opposing wideouts this season. Is that crazy? Is that wild? It's because that they're running the score up by running the football. I mean, they're getting absolutely obliterated when it comes to trying to stop the run. So Khalil Shakir might be a wide receiver 3 option, might be a flex option if you need to, but I would just be cautious on starting him because there's better productive wide receivers out there. I mean, I know it's been a hard stretch, a hard determination, a hard throw the dartboard of figuring out which wide receiver for the Bills, or if it's Dalton Kincaid each and every single week that's going to get some sort of production out of them. I'm just out of it. I'm done trying to figure out who the wide receiver is for the Buffalo Bills, and I just hands clean, be done with it. But if you're a Khalil Shakir owner, Shakir, just be cautious. I just please be cautious. And lastly, on the please be cautious this week in Week 10, Brian Thomas Jr. versus the Texans. The Texans have only allowed 4 touchdowns this season to wide receivers, just 4. And I know I talked about Jacoby Myers, who is a must start. But if Brian Thomas Jr., who's also on the injury report with his ankle injury, if that's also nagging him and ailing him towards this matchup, dude, please do not start. Dude, don't. Because he will be shadowed by, oh my gosh, is it Singletary? Who's the cornerback Texans? Why can't I think of his name? Why can I not think of his name? I think it's Singletary. Stingley? Is it Stingley? Stingley. Not Singletary, Stingley. I was getting there. He's going to be shadowing him. So Brian Thomas Jr. is the wide receiver 1 as he is on paper. He's going to get shadowed the entire time by Stingley. So just expect that to be the case as well. And like I said, they've only given up 4 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. That's not a good output, especially if you're trying to get Brian Thomas Jr. to get jump-started, to get going. You're not getting it this week. You just won't. So he might be a flex option. I know it's hard to say because these guys are guys that we drafted in the top 50. I mean, Krosky-Merritt, not so much. But these are guys that we had very much high promise on each and every single week to get to that highest, the highest medium average that they had projected to us. We want that each and every single week. We strive for that number. We strive to actually go above that number. But you're not going to get that number with these guys this week. I just don't feel it. I don't feel comfortable. It feels gross. Like even me just trying to, I don't know. So let's get to our waiver wire watcher, and then we can get on out of here. I do like this week Darius Slayton versus the Chicago Bears. I believe Darius Slayton's owned in maybe 18% of leagues. It's not much, but it's against the Chicago Bears, who are the 30th ranked defense when it comes to passing yards per game, or even receptions, or even touch. Literally, you want to have a giant on your team this week. I would like to say that the guys that I would get some more love on them, but I think Jackson Dart's going to find a new home and a new safe valve route, a safety valve player in Darius Slayton. Man, I cannot talk right now. You know what? Talking's hard at times. Let's go to the next guy in waiver wire watcher, and it is no other than Christian Watson, who's owned in 26.4% of leagues. We've seen back-to-back weeks where he's at least had 4 targets no matter what. One week he hauled all 4 in, the other week he had 2, but each week he had over 80 receiving yards. And that is a plus and a nice thing. I think he had 80 receiving yards the second week, or did he get 40? I just know he's got a high potential of getting targets. If he catches all 4 targets, and also his snap count went from a 58% to a 64% from the following weeks. So he's getting more and more and more run. And I just like Christian Watson a lot. Put a little flag on him, add him to your bench, maybe a grab and stash guy. But remember, this was supposed to be the wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers a long time ago. He still has shown flashes of wide receiver 1. He's a big body. He's a big, reliable target for Jordan Love. It's just whether or not can Jordan Love get him the ball. I like Christian Watson a lot. I would stash him. I think he's like his average this week's like a 9.6. It's a great grab and stash guy because you already know he's still on waivers. Like I said, he's only owned in 26.4% of leagues. So I do like him. Another one, I've talked about him a lot, and he outtook all of Bam Knight's production. I think he had almost 80 yards in the game that he played against the Cowboys. But Emery DeMarcado, he is the running back one until Trey Benson gets unhurt or gets off the IR, which he's designated to return this week. I don't think he's designated to return. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything or any type of update for him either. But Emery DeMarcado is owned at 11.3% of the league, so he's out there. They do play the Seahawks. It's a middle of the pack run defense type team, so he could have some upside this week if you do start him. I just think he showed last week that Bam Knight's not going to be the guy. Bam Knight might be the get you in the end zone on like the on the 1 yard line, but he's not going to get you those every down type of crucial get me those yards, and also catches some passes as well. David Njoku, who still is open in 66% of leagues. I do like him as a valuable catch option. If it's not Harold Fanning Jr., it's going to be David Njoku, and he would be a nice guy to have on your tight ends because tight ends are very, very bleak. There's not really many good tight ends in the NFL that puts up fantasy production at a high level or high rate. You always want to get above 8 or above 9 if you're in that tight ends room. But Njoku can get you above a plus 12, a plus 13 each week if he is getting the target share split between him and Harold Fanning Jr. It's just whoever's going to go with the hot hand, they'll keep targeting that way because it's also the rookie of Dylan Gabriel, who also we have to feel confident in him throwing the football to David Njoku. That's a different story for a different conversation for a different day. But Njoku is open and not owned in 66% of leagues, so that's another guy to look at. Oh, look who's back on us talking about him. That's Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett has pumped out in each game he started over 20 points in fantasy football. That's what you want. Do you want that as your fantasy football quarterback? I would grab him. I would stash him. Hell, I would start him in certain weeks. But if you are that guy that likes to hold on to 2 quarterbacks just in case you are a flip-flopper each and every single week, you just play the matchup, Jacoby Brissett is a very good guy to have. And also, he's only owned in 14.3% of the leagues. So he is out there and available, and he's just done absolutely incredible things for that offense for the Arizona Cardinals. And lastly, I do like Marcus Mariota as a grab and stash kind of candidate. He's only owned in 8% of the leagues. Just 8% of the leagues. Just 8. He's going to get you those rushing yards. That's why. He's going to get you those rushing yards. He will complete you those passes, but he's going to run the football. He will get you those scoring touchdowns. He's a weapon. He's almost like Justin Fields-esque as a weapon when it comes to fantasy football. Now, it's whether or not you could trust him each and every single week. So that's why I say he's a grab and stash type of candidate for myself in Marcus Mariota. So that will do it for this edition of Foolish Fantasy. Hope we all have a great and incredible Week 10 matchup in fantasy football. I hope you get to your fantasy football playoffs. I hope you win this week so you can get one step closer to it because you got to win. You have to win out. If you are at the 3-win column or the 4-win column in your leagues, you have to win out. You have to. It starts this week. Good luck, and my goodness, have a great Week 10.